being companioned by existence. And when my whole soul and mind and self can move in that dimension, that it doesn't matter what happens. Because I have a sense, you see, of oh, I don't know how to say this. I have a sense of being me, yes. But the deeper I go into me, the more I come in a primary, naked, raw exposure to the very grounds of life and existence. And I know I've crossed over there when I stop trying to identify it and put it in a category, except when I want to talk to you about it. I have to put a handle on it that I can turn to you so you can take it. And the best illustration of that is in the way in which we use words. I think it's gracious, I'm sorry. Wait a minute. Because if I miss it now, I won't do it.
Would limitless reality be anything?
Yes. Yes, that's a good handle for it, because it's the sort of thing that's expressed in what is it? I fled him down the
Hound of heaven.
Hound of heaven. Is it hound of hell? Hound of heaven, yeah. Well, they come together, but they come together at one point. You know which is which, but I don't think that's what I'm looking for.
Which one? First Corinthians or the one in 139?
I won't. Just give me time. I'm looking at that, but that's not what I want. Well, if it doesn't turn up, it means that it doesn't turn up. And it's not...
Is essence a good one?
Hmm?
Is essence?
Well, yes, but even that is too concrete. Well, I can't do it, but let me... we have 2 days or a day and a half. It'll come breaking in here one time, and I'm not looking for it. I think what I'm really feeling for, I mentioned it earlier, it's the difference between being silent and being still. The book says, be still and know that I'm God. Not be silent. And there's a whole world of difference between these. Only when I'm in the stillness, and there are no I'm in the land of no category, no definition, no concretion. It's where whatever there is of, I started to say essence, but you see, that's too concrete. It's like, it's like the coming of the storm in the fall of the year on the upper east coast of Florida, several hundred miles removed from the Caribbean Sea, where the storm is nurtured and sent on its mission of whatever it does when it gets to New England. But I've been walking along as a boy along the shores of the Atlantic, and you're mesmerized by the lazy way the tides come in and go back. As if somebody is standing 2 miles off with a lasso. It lets the tides go, then it ropes them in, and by the time they start back, they meet some fresh ones who don't know anything about what they go to meet up here, and they're full of enthusiasm. Then they get hit across the head and they stagger back, and then it gets silent. It gets quiet, and you don't know when you stop hearing. You just don't quite know when, but suddenly there's no sound anywhere, and the waves stop. Everything is hushed, and you hear noises inside of you that you didn't hear before. For maybe a split second, I don't know how long, time has no existence then. And then what happens? You hear first the advanced whisper of the gale that's coming. And before you know it, the waves are 10 feet high and the storm is on. Now when that happens, then you burrow into yourself. I did as a boy, trying to find a place where I couldn't be invaded by the sound. And it's like it's like Newman's dream of Gerontius, that he envisions in this it was converted into an oratorio, so if ever sometime you're in some place that thinks it's classical and they're doing something like that, go to hear it. The soul is going on an excursion to heaven. An exploration to see whether the room's all right, and that kind of thing. And the soul is turned over to a guide, an angel, and the angel shows the soul around and describes things, and presently the soul comes to a place where over beyond some beautiful rolling hills. And the soul says to the angel that's guiding him, "What's over there?" And the angel says, "That's where God lives." And the soul says, "All my life I have wanted to see God." And as soon as the soul says that, the angel bows her head or his head or its head, covers it with his wings, and says, "I cannot take you over there. Only the angel of the agony can take you into the presence of God." And the angel of the agony has to prepare you for the presence of God. And he covers himself with his wings and disappears, and the angel of the agony comes now to prepare you for the presence of God. You get, and then there's music, and you read it, and it listens much better than you read it. And there comes a moment when the soul has a naked exposure to absolute purity, absolute love, absolute. And then, if you're listening to it with an orchestra, all music stops and you're held out there somewhere in space. And then when the thing picks it up again, you hear the soul screaming now, "Take me away to the darkest place in the universe, that I can recover from the ravages of absolute purity, absolute goodness, absolute love." Now, I think every living thing is on the scent of that. Every living thing, I didn't say every living soul. Every living thing, it is the sign of aliveness. Of aliveness, A-L-I-V, yes, sign of aliveness. It's oh, well, we talk all night, but oh, well, we're going to have one break and that's it, and we go home. I mean, I go home and go to bed. I'm sorry, Joyce, it's your fault. No, that's good. The thing that I'm trying to open up as we begin our journey is that this is what we're on the search for. And I'm not bothered about how you label it when you find it. That's your business. And I don't think it means only something to you, or you think it does. But that you are on the scent of it. Is what life is all about. And when you stand up and sniff the air, and you think you smell it, you had better bird dog it. Because if you don't, the scent dies. And you have to wait for another miracle when the wind changes. And that may take 50 years. It may take 100 years. It may take 10 minutes. But you will never be you until you smell it again and find out where it is. And whoever can point that out to you in that moment becomes your Savior. And whoever becomes your Savior, now please hear this, I'm not interested in what you think about it. Whoever becomes your Savior if you want to be secure, you have to kill him. You have to, this is why in all the religions, the Savior has to die or become a god. There's nothing in between. Now we stop, but for a good night, something I want to read. And then where is it? Go thy way, all things say. Thou hast thy way to go, thou hast thy day to live. Thou hast thy need of thee to make in the hearts of others. Not any light shall fall upon your road for other eyes. Thee the angel calls as he calls others, and thy life to thee is precious as the greatest life can be to him. So live thy life and go thy way. That's it. And
Saturday morning, September the 20th, 1980. Conversations with Howard Thurman continues.
Lord, thou hast searched me and known me. Thou knowest my down sitting and mine uprising. Thou understandest my thoughts afar off. Thou hast compassest my path and my lying down, and art acquainted with all my ways. For there is not a word in my tongue, but know, O Lord, thou knowest it all together. Thou hast beset me behind and before, and I go from thy spirit, or whither shall I flee from thy presence? If I ascend up into heaven, thou art there. If I make my bed in hell, behold, thou art there. If I take the wings of the morning and fly to the uttermost parts of the sea, even there shall thy hand hold me, and thy right hand shall steady me. If I say, surely the darkness shall cover me, even the night shall be light about me. The darkness hideth not from thee, but the night shineth as the day. The darkness and the light are both alike to thee, for thou hast possessed my reign. Thou hast covered me in my mother's womb, and in thy book all my members were written, which in continuance were fashioned, when as yet there was none of them. How precious also are thy thoughts unto me, O God. How great is the sum of them? If I should count them, they are more in number than the sand. When I awake, I am still with thee. Search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my thoughts, and see if there be any wicked way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. Each other yet. We have not dared be silent together. What a priceless possession. That isn't what I'm looking for. There. Now we're in business.
Maybe you a little light.
Oh, this is fine, Judge. Thank you. Yeah. To be able to make sounds convey specific meanings and deliberate notions, to be able to put at the disposal of another the feelings that nestle within the inner life, to be able to reveal oneself in symbols which make clear and do not betray. This is the miracle and the gift of the spoken word. It is with the word that man becomes human. It is the word that gives him the power to hurt where no panacea can touch, to harness the wild horses of the mind and make them the burden bearers of the heart, to give wings to earthbound values until they lose themselves on far horizons. It is the word that can create or destroy, splinter, or make whole, redeem, or damn. It is small wonder that man tends to worship the sound of his voice and to give to it an authority greater than anything that remains when all words have been said. If he can put together the words of conveyance, then he thinks that communication has fulfilled itself. Silence is not trusted. It is subversive. It must be hidden. Fear of silence is the offering which we place upon the altar of words. This is in part due to the richness of the experience of speech. And we do not wish to let it escape from us, lest we descend once again into the vast, empty region where there are no words, where there is no speech. It is important to remember that it is out of the silence that all sounds come. It is in the stillness that the word is fashioned for the meaning it conveys. Hear the sound without sounds can be most clearly heard, and meanings out of which all values come can be plumbed. I've never been able to overcome the excitement that simply explodes in my mind when I think about the sheer raw miracle of human speech, of how by some grace some vast gratuity. Of all the various sounds that beat upon the ear through all the thousands of years, certain sounds are trapped, worked over by the mind and the intent of the heart and the spirit, until the sound becomes synonymous with the meaning that's in the heart and the mind, so that whenever that particular sound is heard, it becomes an open door through which the meaning moves without contamination. And to corrupt the sound and make it the prisoner of meanings that alienate and destroy. This is the vast defiance of the intent of the Creator. Thus, Metterlake writes, if it be indeed your desire to give yourself over to another, be silent. Some there are that have no silence, that kill the silence all around them. And these are the only creatures that pass through life unperceived. To them it is not given to cross the zone of revelation, the great zone of firm and faithful light. We cannot conceive what sort of man is he who has never been silent. It is to us as though his soul were without features. We do not know each other yet. We have not yet dared to be silent together. I learned that from a cousin who was the only masculine figure in my world of aunts, mothers, grandmothers, and sisters. That's a world to live in, I tell you. He used to take me fishing at a freshwater lake about 40 miles from our house. And he had a friend there who had this lake, is all I can remember, and a lot of orange trees and grapefruit trees up the hill. We would go early in the morning, and his friend would meet him as the old Model T pulled up in the yard, and his friend would say, "Hi, Smith." And my cousin Thornton Smith would say, "Hello, Jack." They hadn't seen each other in a month. We'd fish all day, and then we'd cook a big pile of fish, and each would have his own tree and his can of orange juice, cracked ice, grapefruit juice. We'd eat, then we'd go back to fish, catch a tub full of fish to take back to his restaurant. After everything was packed in the car, one would tell the other goodbye. Only words ever spoken between them. All day. But there was you lived in a buzz of communication. And I had no idea at the time that it was impressing me so, but it did. Well, that's enough of that, Judge.
Tell where I learned the use of silences, 1933 at a Seal Mark, when we were having this business growth conference. And we happened to have an excellent adult leader who had heard about progressive education, analyzing the program and changing it if it needed to be changed. We had our adult leaders and a representative of each of the workshops, plus me and my little corps of a secretary. I was girl executive. One of the comments shortly after 2 or 3 days was that some of the girls would like to hear Dr. Thurman give a sermon, and went on about this. You were over in the corner trying to figure out what all this was about. Finally you said, I know what's the trouble. They don't know what to do with the silences. We discussed it afterward and found that I believe most of the groups that you had been used to working with girls were industrial girls or students, and they knew. Clerks and secretaries were used to being dictated to. All you did was shorten the silence. We still had them, but we learned what they were about. And that stuck for 47 years. Now I know where you got it.
All came from out of the same pot of stew. Joyce, are we ready?
Could I share something?
Yeah.
Please?
Just a minute, Joyce.
I'm thinking this morning. I'll do something else. There's several things I'd like to share. Around me right now is an aura of so many very rapid changes, and that is affecting how I'm feeling, how I'm relating, how I'm hearing, how I'm everything thinking right now. But as I was thinking this morning early about what we were talking about, life and life feeding on itself, and the first dimension and the physical dimension, and then the emotional, mental, spiritual dimension, I found something that I'd written down from one of the disciplines of the Spirit takes. Whatever flows from one human being to another and provides nourishment for that other human being is part of the grace of God. And for that, there's a great deal of thanksgiving. And then I thought of another one, too, as I've been having to look at a whole lot of things that we feed on our own experiences. And that's part of, I think, what we were talking about last night. In our own growth, what you said, the anchoring of life in a certain direction, as life seems to be focused on an end, and at each step or experience, and that we build on the previous one. And that's my life feeding on my own life. And I suppose this could be positively or negatively. as we find and live or don't live what we believe and what we stand for. And with this last week, in one day, where I began a day not even with an idea of any change, and then the idea came and the change itself came in such a short period of time, but with a solid knowing as the whole thing proceeded. And then the next day, the exhaustion of the nervous system and trying to deal with and keep up with the changes involved in, I don't know which is first of all, but part of it was in taking a stand, and part of it was going through the looking at what the changes mean, and redirection and thinking and planning. And then a rebuilding process that has to begin. And this is where I thought of this feeding on what I know and am and have done and been, to sort out and through and into a redirection of energies into a new thing. And this morning I just opened Inward Journey and found what this that you had said on, and there's a given element in life. And a lot of it was what was on the tape last night that we heard. And all that is ours to know is that life itself is alive. And then a little later on, I've wondered about the strange quality of renewal that is one with life itself. May not the clue be nurtured in the fact that life feeds on itself? It is only when the mind is farthest removed from its... No, that's not... I skipped what I saw. Life lives on life. This is the way of life. Here may be found the key to the meaning of all sacrifice and the answer to the urge present in every human heart to give itself away. And then I just opened up again, and what we were talking about, waiting. To him that waits, all things reveal themselves, provided that he has the courage not to deny in the darkness what he has seen in the light. And for many, waiting is the experience of recovering balance when catapulted from one's place. It is the quiet forming of a pattern of recollection in which there is called into focus the fragmentary values of myriad encounters of many kinds of a lifetime of living. It is to watch a gathering darkness until all light is swallowed up completely, without the power to interfere or bring a halt. Then to continue one's journey in the darkness with one's footsteps, guided by the illumination of remembered radiance, is to know courage of a peculiar kind. The courage to demand that light continue to be light, even in the surrounding darkness. To walk in the light while darkness invades, envelops, and surrounds is to wait on the Lord. This is to know the renewal.